Hello, everyone. Welcome to another 2023 FallDocs screening. My name is Armando Zamudio, and I am the Public Programs and Events Coordinator here at IDA. For our blind and low vision attendees, I'm going to describe myself. I am a light-skinned Mexican-American wearing a white t-shirt, a black jacket, glasses, and I am sitting in front of a white wall. Thank you to our media sponsors, KCRW and Variety, for sponsoring our 2023 FallDocs. This evening, we'll have a conversation between American Documentary's VP, Asad Mohammed, director Adamu Chan, and producer Rasan Thomas, whose film What These Walls Won't Hold premiered and won the Best Mid-Length Documentary at the San Francisco International Film Festival. To see more amazing films like this, please visit www.documentary.org/FallDocs. Now, before we get started, I would like to offer a brief land acknowledgement. We recognize the Gabrielino Tongva as the past, present, and future caretakers of the land, water, and cultural resources in the unceded territory of Los Angeles. Thank you so much to Andrea Lust for ASL interpreting this discussion. And with that, I'll pass it on to Asad. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Asad Mohammed. I'm the Vice President of Impact and Engagement Strategy at American Documentary POV. For the blind and low vision viewers, I would like to take a moment to describe myself. I'm a brown-skinned Black man with a mustache and goatee, a baseball cap that is brown and has a kind of cow print on it, and a blue collared shirt. I would like to pass it to you, Adamu, to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Assad. I appreciate you being here and appreciate this opportunity to talk about the film. My name is Adamu, he, him pronouns. And I can describe myself. I am a biracial Black and Asian man with glasses, black rim glasses, and long hair up in a bun with a khaki green shirt.
And Rasan?
Yes, I am Rasan Thomas, known as New York. I am a Black and Puerto Rican pale-face, tall guy wearing glasses and a blue t-shirt with the New York symbol on the chest.
Awesome. I'm so excited to be in conversation with both of you brothers today. We have had the pleasure of connecting in person at Black Star Film Festival and have been in conversation even before then. But from seeing the film, you all became friends in my head, which is a testament to your filmmaking. And yeah, it's just been beautiful getting to know you both and to see your work. I want to start out by asking if there's a person that you would like to dedicate this conversation to. Pass it to you, Adamu.
Yeah, wow. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I feel like just firstly off the top of my head, one of my loved ones passed away last Thursday, Dame Hunter, who I know from high school and who's my barber, and passed away and leaves a lot of loved ones that really love and care about him. I want to dedicate this conversation to all of our people that are still behind those walls and who are still in our lives. And we they're not gone. And all of the folks that make up the community that we are a part of, that love and support us, and are in this movement together. That's what I would say. And my mom, I dedicate this to mom. Mom's is, nothing is possible without that person. So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. How about you, Sam?
I think he pretty much said it. To be more specific, I would dedicate this to two people that are still inside right now, who often help me make films. I'm a guy who loves to make films and got all these ideas, and I'm a writer, producer, director, and I didn't know how to turn on the camera until last week. And so I want to dedicate this to Brian Acey and Edmund Richardson, who are the guys who always turn on those cameras, man, and make my ideas come to life. And I get all this credit for these great films that they really shot.
Beautiful. And I would like to dedicate this conversation to a hero of mine that your film reminded me of, George Jackson, political prisoner, just a hero to many, freedom fighter, and just for his writings, his vulnerability, his courage, and the fight for his life and the lives of others. So thank you all. So this film, What These Walls Won't Hold, y'all's beautiful film. It has so many themes of friendship, of community, love. I think it was also very unique to have a mid-length documentary. So I think you already, like, when y'all came through the door, you already caught our attention for the way that you crafted the film. But my question is, like, how did you all make this film? How did you get this film made? I could just imagine working both inside the prison, outside the prison, especially under COVID. Yeah, how did you all make this film?
You wanna go first, son?
I can. So I was still inside, and he paroled, thank God, as you saw in the film, in November, I believe, of 2020. And he reached back in to, like, let me know he's making this film, and asked me to be in it and to get footage shot and to see what archive footage I could find. And so that was my role, to gather the footage, to shoot new footage, have new footage shot, and then get it cleared by the prison administration, which thank God they were very open to, and get it to Adamu. And that was my contribution to it. Also, I was probably going to mention this too, but while we were inside, there were like Berkeley students that were graduate students from the film department, and they would come in and like help us train us in film. And some of these very students end up working for Adamu on the outside, helping them make the film. So that was interesting.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I think there have been a lot of moments where I feel like, I mean, this is a huge moment for us, and a realization of a lot of our dreams and imaginings when we were inside. And I think sometimes I think about the opportunities and privileges that we had, me and Rasan had, within the context of prisons in the nation and really across the world, that we were able to have these cameras inside. We were able to have these access to certain things that other people didn't have. And I think that while we were inside, we definitely came to a realization about that privilege and what the responsibility of that meant to us, to the rest of people who didn't have the things that we had, right? And so I think, there was a lot of planning and a lot of talking about things that we wanted to do while we were inside, and as people started to get out. But I think that, like, moving with our values created these pieces of art, these conversations, these new things in the world that didn't exist before. And I'm just really thankful for that. I don't feel like what the film ended up being is what we actually planned out. But in a lot of ways, it was intuitive, and like we were moving with our relationships and like our bonds and commitments to each other. And this is kind of what came out of it. And to your point about it being a mid-length film, about it being a 43-minute film, I think also too, it just felt like that needed to be the length. And that coming into this industry and talking to a lot of people, there was a lot of feedback that I got during this process about what I should and shouldn't do. And not just about the length, but about the content and how to tell the story and who should be telling the story and what I needed to do, what edits I needed to do, all of these things. And I think I took those things in, but I also felt like this film was for us. And if my people were good with how it was, and if it moved them, that was the most important thing for me. And I think that to me that it resonates and it has some type of universal message, and that it touches people who don't have the same experiences and who may sit outside of these communities, that it resonates with them, to me is a testament to authenticity and about sticking to what you believe in. So
definitely. I see a lot of poetry in the film, and it made me think about just really being curious about what is your first creative love in like the art form that you had gravitated to, just taking a step back from like your development as artists. I'm curious about, what is the first art form you fell in love with and that really captured you?
you want to just switch off? I'll go first, then you go.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, to me, I feel like the first art form and the one that I feel like is the most powerful to me has always been music. And as a young person, I was like really deeply involved in music. I played saxophone, I played drums when I was in elementary school. And I feel like that brought me into a whole world of jazz. And at the same time, like the movement around hip hop was, in its formative stages. And all of these things really influenced me. And I feel like I've come to a point where I feel like all of my deep learning in life has come through that. You know what I mean? I still feel like music is the highest form of, spiritual language. And but I'm not a musician, and I haven't developed that craft. Film has become a tool and a way to build more communication. I believe in art as a different form of language, and a form of language that we need as people to communicate the things that are inside and connect that with other people. And so that's what I'm doing at this moment. At some point, maybe I will get back to music.
I mean, your love of music definitely came across in the film. It's so meditative, and I think it holds us as we're hearing this story. So the music stood out.
Can I give a shout out real quick to Pat Mesiti-Miller, who did the sound design, and also to Samora Pender-Hughes, who contributed so much music to the film and the scoring, and also Eric Maserati Abercrombie, who does the closing music with Lonnie at his release. So yeah, the music is so important and adds like a whole other layer to this film. So.
In New York, what about you?
For me, my first love of art was drawing. I would doodle stuff on my homework, on my notebook, on just everything, making little superhero comics, little stick action figures doing nonsense, flying through the air. But then eventually settled on writing. I developed a love for writing, and I think writing is the key to telling any good story, and it allows me to be able to see what a story is come up with ideas for films and get these films made without knowing how to turn on the camera. Writing is so powerful. You don't even know how to turn on the camera. You can make films.
It's so, so true. And that's why, yeah, everything that's happening, conversation around writers is so important. Definitely need our writers. We need them to get what they deserve. One thing that stood out to me with the film as well was the title. The title grabbed me, spoke to me as soon as I heard it. And what these walls won't hold reads more like a demand, like an agreement, than a question. But there was a question that you posed in the beginning of the film around what does it mean to be held? And I'm interested in how our documentary field can grow to better support the folks who are so generous in sharing their story. So my question is, what are the possibilities you imagine for the documentary field? Like what would it take to feel both held and healed up in this field? Because I think it's important that we have that conversation when we're talking to independent filmmakers.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there need to be more inclusion in the documentary film world, as far as like, if you're going to make stories about system impacted people and benefit from these films, that system impacted people should be involved in its creation. And for those system impacted people who are like Adamu, who are ready to make films themselves, they should be elevated. They should have the budgets to match their skill. So that way they can make amazing, even more amazing works of art than we already do. And I think there needs to be a shift. Like, first of all, there's been a lot of good documentaries lately. And I don't feel like the distribution models really support documentaries. I think that they should be elevated. It shouldn't be, when I think about making a documentary, I think about impact. I don't think about changing my zip code. I don't think about changing, getting rich. I think about impact, and it's worth doing, but you should be able to make a living off it as well, So we need better distribution models. And the concept that a subject can't be paid, some kind of journalistic principle, I think is crap. I think if a person pours their heart out on film, expose themselves, open up their families, their whole world to you, and you go win awards or you go get all these accolades, win all these festivals, whatever, and the subjects don't get nothing, you make a career off this, the subjects don't get nothing, I think that's a bullshit rule, and excuses for it are nonsense to me.
I don't really have much to add. I feel like that's just a mic drop right there. I mean, I also feel like I'm very interested in community filmmaking and folks who oftentimes sit outside of kind of the traditional filmmaking like avenues or channels. People who go to MFA programs or go through film academies or whatever, or come up through television or journalism programs. I am a person who doesn't have a background in filmmaking and who learned this stuff in prison and had the privilege to do that and be around amazing, brilliant individuals like Rasan and like Edmund and Tan Tran, who's also a co-producer, and Lonnie Morris. And like when I talk about how, hip hop influenced me, this idea that like kids in the inner city taught themselves how to make music through experimentation and change the world is something that I take with me. And I just feel like, outside of kind of like the traditional forms of like how films are supposed to be made and what they're supposed to do, like the people who don't come through those channels actually have the like great ideas and know how to problem solve and have learned through experimentation and have so much to offer to this industry. And those things should be resourced and supported. And anytime I have an opportunity to like talk to young folks who are trying to find their voice in this industry or just art in general, like I try to reach out, because to me, I feel like that's important, and maybe something that isn't really paid so much attention to in this industry. So that's the only thing I would add. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm hearing themes around impact, distribution, education, mentorship. And it does make me think about San Quentin being a rare case where prison has a media center, and I know, Rasan, you've been working with Air Hustle. You both were involved with Air Hustle, a finalist for the Pulitzer, an amazing podcast. I'm definitely a listener. People should go check out your episode, Rasan, that played this year. But can you tell me a little bit about the work that went into creating Air Hustle, and like that kind of look at community filmmaking and things that you saw happening there that may not be happening when you went into other film spaces on the outside?
Yeah, it also started before Air Hustle. It started with a radio program, KLW. They wanted to come in and extract stories, but we were like, yo, don't come in and extract, come in and train us how to tell our own stories. And from that, it eventually led to Air Hustle, because we were in the mode of telling our own stories. But after a while, this was Nigel and Earlonne. This was pre-me, but I'm just telling that they're part of the story right now. They wanted to tell stories that weren't journalistic. They just wanted to tell stories. And we realized that has a greater impact. When you just tell a story, you're not advocating for anything. You just let the story speak for itself. You let the truth speak for itself. And so they wanted to go in that direction. And then they just worked really hard to try to make that happen for the institutional channel inside. And then an opportunity came to be part of a contest, a Radiotopia contest called PodQuest. And they got permission from the administration to enter it, from Lieutenant Sam Robinson, actually. And I don't even think he cleared it with anybody higher up, because he didn't expect them to win. And they get in it in their top 10. And he has to let Sacramento know that he made this decision. And then they were top 4. And at this point, I'm working next door to them, covering the story for the newspaper, the San Quentin News, thinking that there is no such thing as top 4. We're just some token, there's top 3, top 5. No, I never heard of a top 4. So I figured we were the extras, and we were just there for publicity or whatever, some kind of token thing. Then it won, and it became number 1. And then they had to figure out how to make a podcast. And it was tough because Earlonne was still in prison, and all the editing had to happen inside the prison, just like with Friendly Signs. When I made that film, all the editing took place inside the prison because the administration needed to clear the final product before it could leave. And so it took a lot of hours in that media center. It opens at 7:30 in the morning. We're off in there from 7:30 in the morning to 8 at night, just working. And again, the work happened long before Air Hustle. It's the relationships we had with people that we're incarcerated with that allowed them and made it easy for them to open up and tell us their stories, tell us all kinds of, deep stories. And we were able to go in depth and give people a different look at what people in prison look like, and just really hear a level of conversation, a level of sharing that I don't think happens a lot when it's outside people coming in that don't have a connection to the community. And even Nigel, even though she was a volunteer, she had been there for 7 years before Air Hustle came about. So she was established in that community as well. She practically lived there. And so it's just a lot of long hours, a lot of hard work trying to learn how to make a podcast on the fly after winning a contest. I got involved in season 3, and then officially as a host in season 4. And I just jumped right in and learning how to use Pro Tools on the iMac computer. Doing recording, using the Tascam, using the Zoom, jump right in, and here I am today. Ironically, my first episode I ever produced with Air Hustle was Catch a Kite season 3. And the first episode I produced as a free man was Catch a Kite season for season 11. So it felt like it full circle for me.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you got involved, and definitely enjoyed you as a host. And I wanted, can you define the kite for some people who may not be familiar?
Oh, sorry. A kite is like a letter. We pass messages back and forth in prison on really tiny paper where they write really small. So these messages can disappear if the staff comes along. So we call them kites.
Thank you. Thank you. Adamu, you have anything to add?
No, I don't really have anything to add. Well, maybe I do. I think I appreciate Ear Hustle for creating. I think, being out, I've really kind of taken stock of all of the things that make what we're doing today possible. And all of the people, all of the different, um, connections that we have with people that make things possible. And I think there's a way of thinking about things at certain times where, like, there are people who sit on one side who are the enemies, and there are people who are with us. And I think part of being in prison is actually understanding that, and I don't want to simplify things, but I'm just saying that, like, there are relationships that you have, even with the administration, that are complex and complicated, right? And these people are in some ways your oppressors, but also people that are in some ways supporting what you're doing. And there's a certain nuance to that I think maybe a lot of people don't understand, which is that, sometimes you have relationships with people who lock you up at night, turn that key and put you in a cage. And I'm not justifying that. I'm not justifying what they do, but I'm just saying that these things are complicated. And, like, on a certain level, I am very appreciative for the things, the small connections, the things that people allow for us to be here, to be alive, to do what we're doing. So that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, and along those lines, Adamu, I'm thinking about how, I think about the word, like the words impact producer, and how sometimes we have these terms and they can be so intimidating, or we're like, what is that? But then, when you think about one who produces impact, there's many people that I think about in my own life that, the grandmothers that watched me from 2 to 13, and all these people in my community who didn't get any credit and they weren't getting any paychecks for what they were doing, were producing impact. So I think about the bonds that people can have, that the ones that we saw, like you and Issa having, despite the wall, right? How could we increase the communication and bonds between those who are incarcerated inside and those of us who are on the outside, like in a meaningful way that can, I think in many ways you all have already started doing that. And I would love for you to speak to how you're not letting a wall separate you from who you love.
Right.
Yeah, that's a deep question. And I think it is something that I feel like the film is investigating, pondering about our relationships to each other and our connections to each other and what they mean. And I just share a story. I went into San Quentin last year as a quote unquote free person going back in. I went in for Kwanzaa last December, and Rasan was still there. And one of our loved ones made a speech and was talking about how, and he's a person that's like dealing with a chronic illness, and like basically, yeah, just in a bad situation right now, in prison with a chronic illness, and was making a speech about how he felt like everyone that he talks to on the outside is sad and depressed and hurting right now. And he was like, I'm in here and I'm dealing with this, but I am alive and I'm living my life. And yeah, I feel like that truly touched me and in some ways like broke me, because I think it is a really deep kind of reflection of how disconnected and separate we are out here in this world, and how this kind of like forced togetherness of prison is in a lot, it is very painful, and in a lot of ways seen as that is the kind of oppression, right? Is like people being forced to be together. But I think in those situations, like there's something that we remember about something that's old, and I feel like Black and Indigenous folks are really trying to like get in touch with this, which is that there's something about being together and supporting each other and loving each other, even in the most difficult circumstances, that allows us to survive and meet the next day. And I feel like out here, and I'm generalizing, is I feel like in this world, like people have in some ways so much more support than people inside. You know, a lot of people I'm around have a therapist and like have their food and, you know, services delivered to their doorstep, and,
Right.
you know, live in a certain level of luxury here in, you know, America, and still struggle so much to meet the day and to find a way to like push forward. And I think it says a lot about like how our societies are constructed, how we've like really depended on technology to connect each other. And there's something lost in that. There's something that is like missing. And I'm not answering your question, but I think I am. And what I'm saying is that like, I think that there's something even beyond the prison, which is that I think we actually need to develop better ways to like connect and be with each other. So that's what I would say.
Oh, you definitely answered it. Thank you. And Rasan, I'm wondering if you could speak to how some of the work that you're already doing that is building that bridge, and talk a little bit maybe about your project, Friendly Signs.
Yeah. So when I was inside, they let all the volunteers in, but you're not allowed to like have their number and act them with any personal way. That becomes over from reality. You go to the hole. And so I feel like I hit a glass ceiling inside, because here I am ready to go to the next level of my career, and I just couldn't, it would be against the rules to engage with the people who come in to do it. And I didn't have people on the outside. And so I ended up building this program called Empowerment Avenue, where people don't come into the prison. It works outside of it. So it doesn't have the rules of open reality. We have over 140 volunteers, and they work with people one-on-one in many cases to help them produce their writing projects and art projects. And now we're branching into film. And one of the things I'm really proud of, we're working with a young man in Michigan to help him make a film. And why I'm proud of that is Michigan is not cool. Like they ban books. They don't have a good time system. You can change your life and you're still stuck in your cell. They don't have a media center, obviously. There's no access to camera. And we're filming his video visits and we're filming and recording of the video visits as a workaround to make this guy vision to be a director and a producer and a writer from his cell possible. And I feel like that's what all the people who went home before me did. I couldn't connect with this bigwig that came in because I was inside and they're not allowed to give us their numbers and all that. But then formerly incarcerated people run across them and be that bridge to those people. And so that's what I am now with Empowerment Avenue. And with Friendly Signs, it's an amazing film. I'm really proud of it. In fact, Adamu was, we had this idea where Adamu was going to be the director, producer, and of a behind the scenes documentary, but he decided to parole and not finish the product. He just didn't want to stay in prison to complete his mission. I'm very upset with him about that, but I'm happy he went home. I think it would have been amazing behind the scenes footage. It would have did all kinds of crazy things. We'd have had a double film. But anyway, Friendly Signs is just about a guy named Tommy Wickert. He's an incarcerated person who's a brother of a deaf person. And he changed his life while he was in prison. And after he changed his life, he found out that deaf people were being mistreated and so bad in one prison, they decided to move 12 of them to San Quentin. And so when he found that they were coming to where he was at, he was determined to start a sign language class so that it could be a more inclusive space. And Friendly Signs ended up being about his journey to start that class and how hard it was with the red tape and the bureaucracy, and it never happened within the time we were filming. But it happened today. It happened, and 32 people are graduating from that class on next week, Tuesday. And so 32 people now are fluent in sign language at San Quentin and making the place 32 times more inclusive for deaf people. And so these are the ways that we come together as a community to solve our own problems, right? We come up with a solution, we fight hard to get the administration to get out the way so we can implement it, and we execute, and we make a huge impact in our own lives. And I just want to keep replicating that model, hopefully get on PBS one day, show what we can do, show other people in prison the movie so they can have other ideas about what they can do, and just keep helping each other build, keep being the bridge to make everything possible, to empower leadership all over. Because if you have a movement that's full of leaders, right, that's connected to resources, you can't stop it. You can't stop it. And that's what we're hoping to do. You know what I mean? Not be the sole dude, just turn us all into leaders, connect us all to resources. I don't even know if I answered your question, but it felt good saying all this good stuff. So
you went above and beyond. You got that. I think that's a beautiful note to end on. I just want to thank you all for this beautiful film. Shout out to Issa, Lonnie, Bonara, James King, all the folks that we get to meet in the film, and all the other beautiful folks and faces we see. I'd like to end on this quote from Tony Cade Bambara, an amazing writer and ancestor now, who said, "The role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible." And I think that is exactly what you all are doing. So thank you so much for your work, and appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I want to shout out Christian Collins, our producer, and Young Park, our editor. I had to shout them out.
Hey, y'all. We thank y'all. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Assad. Thank you, Rasan.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all. Peace.
Peace.